Hare Krishna. My respectful obeisances to all the devotees at iskcon, Melbourne. Very happy to meet all of you after an year. I seek blessings from all the senior devotees who are assembled here. Today we are reading from the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, that explains the story of Saubhari Muni. And in the specific shloka that we just read, Saubhari Muni summarized his entire life history. His biography is here, autobiography is here in this one shloka. Saubhari Muni was a great yogi. He was performing austerities underwater in the Yamuna river. But somehow he saw two fish meeting. Actually, when two fishes are moving around in water, nobody can realize what they are doing. And it's very difficult to even figure out who is a boy and who is a girl also in the water when two fishes are just moving around. But Saubhari Muni, despite performing hundreds of years of yoga, still he could understand that these two fishes are enjoying sense gratification. And he developed a desire to enjoy like them. Very unfortunate. And he came out of the water. At that time, that land was ruled by a king named Mandhata. He went to King Mandhata in his yogi attire. For several decades or probably centuries, he was doing some tapasya, and he just came out of water after a long time, and he saw this big palace of the king and went and asked the king, "My dear king, I wish to marry the princess, your daughter." Seeing his attire, seeing his age, Mandhata was not inclined to offer his daughters to Saubhari Muni. Oh, looks like he's not a very suitable husband to my beautiful young daughters. But if I say no, maybe he'll curse me. He's a Brahmana, he seems to be yogi. Although he's old, doesn't look very handsome apparently, externally, still he has some powers, he might curse me. He was a bit afraid. So instead of saying no, he very smartly and cleverly said, "I wanted my daughters to marry a man whom they love, whom they like. So here is my messenger, attendant, soldier. He will take you to the palace in which my 50 daughters are there. Let them see you. If they like you, you can marry them." Simple. Very, very smartly he just mentioned it. Saubhari Muni said okay, but he understood. Mandhata is kind of underestimating him or considering him an old man, something like that. So as the soldier or the assistant of Mandhata was taking Saubhari Muni to the chambers of these princesses, 50 princesses, Mandhata had 50 daughters. On the way, Saubhari Muni transformed himself into a young, handsome, good-looking man. And as soon as all these 50 girls saw Saubhari Muni, they started fighting with each other. "I will marry him, I will marry him, I will marry him." And Saubhari Muni had to marry all 50. Within moments, within a short while, a transition took place in his life. From a yogi or a tapasvi who was doing some austerities underwater for a long, long time, for several years, he suddenly became the husband of 50 women. And Mandhata, because of his mystic powers, he not only transformed himself into a beautiful young man, he also created some lavish comforts for his sense enjoyment with his 50 queens. Saubhari Muni had mystic powers. He created such mystic opulence and he gave such great enjoyment to all his 50 queens. And seeing the degree of his enjoyment, the lavish comforts, the luxuries that he had, that elaborate arrangements for sense enjoyment that he's having, Mandhata Muni got a complex and he became renounced, he became detached, seeing his attachment, seeing Saubhari Muni's enjoyment. In this way, Saubhari Muni enjoyed for a long, long time. And as the shloka describes, where is the shloka? Ekas tapasvi. I am one tapasvi. I am alone. I didn't have relatives. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a palace. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a wife or children. Ekas tapasvyaham. I am just one tapasvi, one yogi, one meditator. But athambhasi matsya sangat. Atha ambhasi. I entered into this water and saw this matsya sangha, these two fishes enjoying with each other. Panchashadasa muta panchasahasra sargaha. Panchashadasa means I have married 50 queens, and through each queen I had 100 sons, and 100 into 50, 5,000 children. Now my family, I was alone, Eka, but now my family became 5,001. One became 51, and 51 became 5,001. So it's like that, 5,000 plus 51, yeah, 5,051. This is my family size now, with big palaces. He said, Nantam vrajami ubhayakrityas manorathanam. Because of my mental concoction, pleasures, material pleasures, I have destroyed my good fortune in this life and in the next life also, he's saying. Then Maya Gunair Hritamatir Vishaye Artha Bhavaha. Maya Gunair, I was totally captivated by the modes of material nature, Maya Gunair. So I have lost the purpose of my life. What is he saying, Saubhari Muni? We have seen his transformation in the last 5 minutes, the story. But is it wrong? What was Saubhari Muni indicating? He was alone and he married some queens and he had some children and he's regretting, he's repenting. He is feeling so bad and sad that I have become a family member now. I have so many hundreds of children now. So he was regretting. Is it wrong? What was his intention? Was he criticizing household life? No. That was not the point here. Marrying is not wrong. Having children is not wrong. Having hundreds of children is not wrong. He married only 50 wives. Krishna married 16,108 wives. Chitraketu Maharaj married 1 crore wives. Karodpati. He married 1 crore wives. There are so many. Dasharath Maharaj had 3 prominent wives like our Kaushalya, Sumitra, Kaikeyi. So in the olden days there were so many people who married and who got children. But why is he regretting so much? As if he has done a great sin. As Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi, Bharatarshabha. Dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi means, kama means desire to enjoy. Specifically desire to enjoy with the opposite gender in this context. Kama can refer to any desire one has. But dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi means, I am that kama, I am that lust, which is not against dharma. What is dharma in this context? So when a man and woman come together with some official marriage ties, and when their coming together is blessed by their parents and the whole society and all the Brahmanas and the Vedic, it's in alignment with the Vedic principles. So their coming together, their union is bona fide, and whatever enjoyment they have as a part of their life to produce children is also bona fide. And it is not different from Krishna himself. Dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Kamo asmi. In 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Kalosmi, I am time. Now he is saying Kamosmi. I am Kama, I am that lust. I am that lust, or I am that desire in a man and woman when they come together to enjoy, to produce a child. I am that. He says that. Because it is not against dharma. It is not violating any regulative principles, right? So that kind of license that Krishna has given, as long as when it is done with a pure intent. What is the intent of a man and woman coming together in a marriage tie and producing a child? It's basically service. It is seva. What kind of seva is that? The conditioned souls in this material world are wandering in this material existence in different species because of their karmic baggage. Because of doing so many pious and impious activities, these conditioned souls are wandering in the material existence in several species in different planets. Now when a human mother and a human father come together in a marriage tie and produce a child, they are basically doing a great service of offering one conditioned soul an opportunity to take a human form of life and practice bhakti, practice Krishna consciousness. In that sense, it is seva, it is service. Any man and woman coming together in a marriage tie and producing a child is a great service done to the Supreme Lord by reconnecting a wandering conditioned soul to his lotus feet. So when Krishna conscious parents come together and give birth to children and raise them in a Krishna conscious way, train them in values and virtues and morals and principles and raise them as good human beings and good devotees, that's a great seva, right? Vaishnava seva. So basically the whole principle of in the Gopi Gita, right in the middle of Gopi Gita, we have this most popular shloka. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavi bhiriditam kalmashapaham. The last line says, Bhuvi grinanti ye bhurida jana. Bhurida jana. Who is a bhurida jana? One who tries to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. One who speaks Harikatha, Krishna Katha, and spreads the glories of Krishna everywhere is considered a very munificent and magnificent personality, very compassionate personality. So compassion lies in connecting a person to Krishna through speaking Krishna Katha. Similarly, parents also are exhibiting their compassion by speaking Krishna Katha to their children and by training them to become a great devotee. Not just speaking Krishna Katha, they are doing all the necessary training that is required for the child to grow as a devotee, not just speaking Krishna Katha. Right? So, like, there are some devotees, they just speak Harikatha and enlighten people, they educate people, but parents have extra service, not only training children in glories of Krishna, but also taking care of all their other needs. So it's like more comprehensive and elaborate seva, right? So training someone in Krishna consciousness and bringing a soul closer to Krishna is a great service. But why is Saubhari Muni criticizing this? I was one, I became 51, then I became 5051, and I have lost my good fortune in this life and in the next life. He's regretting mainly because his family life was inspired by a desire for sense gratification after seeing that Matsya Sangat. His family life was not inspired to render some seva, some service, right? So his intention was to enjoy on a physical plane, and as a result of his enjoyment, these 5,000 children were born. But in the case of Krishna conscious devotees, the child is born with an intention to render service to the child, and also the child's upbringing is very much in a Krishna conscious way, and parents will go back to Godhead, children also will go back to Godhead. In contrast to Saubhari Muni's life, family life, let's consider the family life of Kardama Muni. He is also a sage. He also performed 10,000 years of austerities. He also did tapasya. Ekas tapasvi aham. Ambhasi Matsya Sangat. So, Ekas Tapasvi means Kardama Muni was alone, living alone in a secluded place, and Tapasvi, he is doing tapasya for 10,000 years. And Atha Ambhasi, of course, Saubhari Muni was inside the water, but Kardama Muni was on the shore of the water. On the shore of the Bindu Sarovar, he was doing his tapasya. And he never got into Matsya Sangat. He never saw some fish mating and then he never wanted to marry because he was impelled by lust. Just to fulfill his sense gratificatory desires, he did not marry. As a service, he married. Who gave him that service? Brahma, his own father, said, Kardama Muni, you should get married now. You should get married and then increase the population of this universe, create more and more people. Because you are a human being and you marry another human woman and then you produce human children and train them in Krishna consciousness, and they will go back to Godhead. And these people trained in Krishna consciousness will train 10 other people, 1,000 other people, million other people, and like that, let's vacate this universe. For the universe to become vacant, universe should become filled now with population. Let the human population be there, let these human beings practice bhakti and inspire others also to practice bhakti. So thus, in the beginning of the creation, one of the greatest services is procreation, creating progeny. Of course, other species also are supposed to take birth according to their previous baggage, but specifically speaking about human beings, they give birth to people and train them in bhakti, spiritual life, so that they will spread Krishna consciousness, and that's the whole mission, a spiritual mission happening, right? Thus, this kind of attempt to increase the population in this universe, creating population, is just seva, pure seva, service to the Supreme Lord, service to the humanity, service to the conditioned souls, by connecting them into Krishna consciousness, connecting them back to Godhead. And they will connect another people back to Godhead. So, Kardama Muni's family life is not criticized, it's glorified. And Saubhari Muni is self-criticizing. Right? He is criticizing his own family life here. What's the problem? What's the difference? The difference is very, very simple. Saubhari Muni got into family life to fulfill his lusty desires. Kardama Muni got into family life as a service. And even before marrying Mother Devahuti, Kardama Muni said, I will retire after she gives birth to children. And there's absolutely no problem with this proposal. Before even marriage, he's planning for retirement. He's saying, after she gives birth to some children, I will leave her in the care of those children and I will retire. And she said, okay, of course. Devahuti said, okay. Devahuti's parents, Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, they also said, okay. Kardama is okay. It's like, then there is a proper understanding that this marriage is meant for seva. Right? So, and Kapilidev took birth as the son of Devahuti and Kardama Muni. So, such a glorious family. He is given as a wonderful example of family life. Similarly, Rishabhadev, he gave birth to 100 sons. And he trained all these 100 sons. Nayam deho deha bhajam raloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam. You can see 5th chapter, 5th canto. Very beautiful teachings. Sometimes they're a little heavy also. But there are so many teachings of Rishabhadev to his 100 sons. He trained them so nicely. And the foremost of all his sons is Bharat Maharaj. He is also a wonderful devotee. And he told the remaining 99 sons, follow the example of Bharat Maharaj. 9 of them became Navayogendras. 10 became pure Kshatriyas. They followed Bharat Maharaj. They were trained by their elder brother. And remaining 81 people became great Brahmanas. Right? So like that, Kardama Muni's family life, Rishabhadev's family life, and many other great souls like Ambarish Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, all these people also had their family life. They had so many children. They had a big palace. They have a home. And none of their family life is criticized. In fact, we are discussing their stories since 5,000 years. And before that also, there must be some discussion about all these great souls. But Saubhari Muni's family life is why he is being criticized here. He himself is criticizing his own family life. Similarly, Yayati's family life was also criticized by himself. If you go into the later chapters of the ninth canto, there are 2 more family men. One is Pururava, second is Yayati. So they themselves criticize their own family life later. My God, I have become too lost in sense enjoyment. Because their family life is inspired by sense enjoyment, sense gratification, not seva. Right? So here is Saubhari Muni saying that I am just one person. I became 5,051. A round figure is given, 5,000 members, I said. But apart from desire for sense enjoyment, apart from lust, there is one more problem with Saubhari Muni's family life. He was a yogi, he was a sage, doing some austerities alone, underwater, in a secluded place, in the holy dham of Vrindavan, in the holy river of Yamuna. But he got into Vaishnava Parad. Another important lesson that we should learn from Saubhari Muni is not only avoiding lust, but also avoiding aparadh. So Saubhari Muni committed a great aparadh to a great Vaishnava. And that Vaishnava was Garuda, the regal carrier, bird carrier of Lord Vishnu. So because Garuda was in an eagle body, he used to come to that place and he would eat some fishes. I mean, there is nothing on the part of Garuda. If we do so, if we imitate him, that's a mistake on our part. We are compromising on one regulative principles, no meat eating. But when Garuda does it, when Garuda eats fishes or Garuda eats snakes, we should not have any objection, because he is a pure Vaishnava. Definitely whatever he eats, he offers it to the Lord and then eats. Offering does not mean like you see, we make an offering with so many items in the plate, and it's not that Garuda is offering that kind of thing, but basically he requires some food for his physical energy. Then definitely he will meditate on the Supreme Lord and then have that food which is required to give him that necessary physical strength to serve him, right? So, and also we cannot evaluate great souls, great personalities according to our own yardsticks. Like when we touch urine and stool, we become contaminated. We should immediately take a bath. But when sun is evaporating so much of moisture from urine and stool all over the globe, and he's also evaporating some moisture from filth also, you cannot say, "Sun, are you taking bath? You have become a little impure or unclean or contaminated because of touching this moisture from the stool and urine." No. Tejiyasam na doshaya. Bhagavatam says clearly. When great personalities do something, we are not meant to evaluate them. That's the whole problem with Saubhari Muni. Saubhari Muni became a self-appointed judge of Garuda's actions. How can he eat fish? And also this is a product of his misplaced compassion. He was compassionate on his fishes and he is criticizing Garuda, who is eating the fishes. Right? Out of our compassion on some people, if we offend a pure Vaishnava, oh, he has done some injustice to this person. So, and we become very compassionate on these people, and then we offend a pure Vaishnava, then we'll have to face the consequences, just as Saubhari Muni faced. So because of Vaishnava aparadh that he has done, not only he criticized or chastised or scolded Garuda, he even said that you will die if you come here again to take fishes, eat fishes. And Garuda just honored, Garuda is so humble, he just honored the curse of Saubhari Muni, although he himself need not get affected by this curse. Right? He need not accept this curse, he need not avoid going to Vrindavan or Yamuna. But he avoided because Saubhari Muni said, "Take one Brahmana, one sage is saying that he has some concern about the fish and he doesn't want me to come here. No problem, I will do the needful." So he avoided. Now the main lesson here is that pure devotees, exalted devotees are humble. They accept corrections even from this kind of people who may offend them. But some people have this great sense of self-righteousness. I can correct even senior people also. So in that mentality, Saubhari Muni criticized and even cursed Garuda. And as a result of this offense to a pure devotee called Garuda, he became affected by this lusty desires when he saw the two fish mating. Now Saubhari Muni has been sitting in that same river, water, for a long time, and he has been seeing so many fishes. Why today only he got affected by seeing that fishes? Because he offended Garuda. He has been seeing the fishes, so many fishes must be mating around him also. He is doing his tapasya, he is unaffected by it. He is completely focused on his meditation. He was not at all distracted. But why now suddenly he got distracted? Matsya Sangat. Because he offended. So when we offend a pure devotee, we'll get distracted from bhakti. As simple as that. Offending a Vaishnava is a way, is a royal road to distractions, to fall downs. The title is Downfall of Saubhari Muni. So distraction from bhakti, deviation from bhakti, fall down in bhakti, all these are products of offending a pure Vaishnava. So Saubhari Muni offended a pure Vaishnava. Therefore, he was affected by Matsya Sangat and he became 51 and then 5051 eventually. Right? So family life is not the problem here. His family life is a result of two things, kama and krodha. Krodha is anger towards our Garuda. He offended Garuda because he did Vaishnava Aparadh. He became a victim of lusty desires. If you go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll find another example there. Ishwarapuri was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri had another disciple also. His name is Ramachandra Puri. So in the last days of Madhavendra Puri, final days, he was lamenting so much. He was sick, physically little weak, and he was lamenting. Oh, I have wasted my life, I have not attained Krishna Prema, and he is just lamenting that he did not sufficiently go deep in his bhakti. And Ishwarapuri was rendering so many services to Madhavendra Puri, and Madhavendra Puri blessed Ishwarapuri, empowered Ishwarapuri. And Ishwarapuri became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also later. But when Madhavendra Puri was lamenting in separation from Krishna, Ramachandra Puri came there and said, "Why are you lamenting? You should meditate on Brahman now." He started instructing his own guru. Right? He could not understand the feelings and emotions of his guru, but he kind of judged him and he offended him and even instructed him. Then Madhavendra Puri became extremely furious. He said, I am lamenting because of not attaining Krishna's love or Krishna's association, and here is this person who came to instruct me in impersonalism, Brahman, Krishna. So in this way, Madhavendra Puri was very upset with Ramachandra Puri. And because of offending this Vaishnava, Ramachandra Puri became an impersonalist. Although he was the disciple of a great devotee like Madhavendra Puri, who is like the root of the tree of love of God, he is the one who first manifested ecstatic symptoms of love of Godhead in this line. But Ramachandra Puri became an offender, became a criticizer, became an impersonalist. Later he even offended Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. Right? So offense to a Vaishnava can make us lusty, can make us offend 100 other people, can also make us become an impersonalist, right? Become victims of so many anarthas. All this will happen because of offending great personalities. As the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ayuhu Shriyam Yasho Dharman Lokan Asisha Evacha Hanti Shreyamsi Sarvadi Pumso Mahadatikramaha. Ayu, Shriyam. Ayu means lifespan. Shriyam means one's beauty or opulences. Yasha means one's fame, reputation. Dharmam, all of one's values and virtues and principles and morals. Lokan means all the great destinations that we are supposed to achieve. Because of doing some pious activities, we are destined to attain some higher planet, for example. But that will be cancelled. That boarding pass will be torn. That booking will be cancelled if you offend Vaishnavas. Right? Lokan, asisha evacha. Whatever blessings that we have received also will be destroyed. When? Hanti shreyamsi sarvani pumso mahadatikramaha. Atikrama, offense. Mahad means great personalities, Mahatmas. When we offend great devotees, then all our good fortune will be destroyed. This is mentioned in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th chapter. Beautiful shloka. Not beautiful, very scary shloka. Right? So, Saubhari Muni is a case of Vaishnava Aparadh. Because of that, he became affected and his family life is being criticized by his own self now. But this should not be taken as a general criticism of family life and procreating and producing 5,000 children or 10,000 children or 100,000 children, not an issue, right? But this is a product of lust, and that lust is a product of Vaishnava Aparadh, right? The motive behind his marrying the daughters of Mandhata is his desire for sense gratification. Even Kardama Muni also enjoyed. With his mystic power, Kardama Muni created an aerial mansion. And that aerial mansion took Kardama Muni and Mother Devahuti along with hundreds and thousands of mystic girls that he has created to different pleasure spots in the universe, and they enjoyed so nice for 100 years. For 1 century they were enjoying. But before enjoying for 1 century, he performed austerities for 10,000 years. Compared to the 10,000 years of austerity, this 100 is insignificant. 100 into 100. The so-called enjoyment is only 1%, while 100% of 100 times of that enjoyment is his austerities. That is before marriage. And after he gave birth to Kapila, and after that again he performed austerities. Right? So, enjoyment, kama, is not abundant as long as it is not against dharma. But if that kama is a product of Vaishnava aparad, that is condemned. And now the good news for all of us. Even though somebody happens to offend a Vaishnava, even though somebody happens to become a victim of lust, either because of Vaishnava aparad or they themselves are lusty. Sometimes everybody who becomes lusty need not be a Vaishnava aparadi also. Right? For example, Pururava, there is no mention that he has offended some Vaishnavas, therefore he became lusty. He became lusty just like that, seeing Urvasi. Right? Even Yayati also. He became a victim of lusty desires, not necessarily because of offending some Vaishnava, but they became like that. So whether it is because of Vaishnava aparad or because of general lust, if somebody ends up wasting one's time and energy and several years of one's lifespan, several decades of one's lifespan, still, at some point, if they realize their mistake, and if they sincerely regret for their mistake, and if they try to rectify the mistake by again taking shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna, then the Lord is merciful towards them. Very beautiful point. Saubharimani, although he became a victim of Vaishnava aparad and victim of lust like this, later he is contemplating. 53rd shloka, 54th shloka, it describes that Saubharimani has taken his spiritual life more seriously now. After indulging in sense gratification for a long time, he understood it is insubstantial, it is so disgusting. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo na yevate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga, that bhoga, that enjoyment which is a result of bringing our senses in contact with the sense objects, is only dukkha yoni. It's a womb of distress, or it's the source of distress. Dukkha yonaya evate. Adi antavantaha kaunteya. In the beginning there is distress, in the end there is distress, in the middle there is distress, there is only distress. Whenever somebody is enjoying in a material plane, and if that material enjoyment is only a source of distress in future, right? Yesterday we were discussing misery. Even the so-called happiness also leads to deeper distress very soon. So, nateshu ramate buddhaha. Intelligent people, mature people, wise people will not be inclined to enjoy on that plane. Nateshu ramate buddha, Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. Here, Saubharimani, although he became a victim of lust, later he realized, because of his past background in yogic background or whatever, he realized that this cannot give me enjoyment. I left my austerities. Austerity basically means accepting an inconvenience voluntarily upon oneself for a higher purpose. He was doing austerities, but later he desired enjoyment. Later he realized that this enjoyment is insubstantial. Austerity was better. Again he went back to austerities. Right? It's better to accept inconvenience for a higher purpose than accepting enjoyment to degrade oneself. Enjoyment and austerity, they are opposite to each other. But this austerity will give greater enjoyment, and this enjoyment will give greater mercy, greater distress. You want enjoyment now only to be distressful later, or you want some austerity now to enjoy later? Spiritual enjoyment, spiritual bliss. Like sometimes these children are there, they are going to school, right? There's some austerity, too many assignments, too many project submissions. So some austerity, maybe a lot of austerity is there. I am hearing from devotees like 7th standard and 8th standard kids. They have to, what is that? What is that? They have to selective entry. For selective entry, they have to work so hard. They have to perform some austerities. But that austerity is required for a better life tomorrow, right? So sometimes we have to accept austerity for better enjoyment later, better happiness later. But now, if one does not do that austerity, if one wants to enjoy right now, then in future there will be distress, right? Whether it's on material plane or in spiritual plane. So here is Saubhari Muni, he gave up his austerity for enjoyment, but later he realized that this enjoyment only leads me to distress. Now he realized it, and he's taking up austerity once again. That's why his story is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, although Pururava was a victim of lust, Saubhari Muni was a victim of lust, Yayati was a victim of lust. Why those lusty stories are there within Srimad Bhagavatam, such a sacred literature? Sometimes when we are reading those chapters, we feel a bit uncomfortable. Initially when I read Pururava's story, I felt, my God, why this kind of language and this kind of details are described in Bhagavatam, such a sacred literature, we are worshipping. I was feeling like that for a moment, but later I realized the conclusion is spiritual. Not all lust stories are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Pururava, Yayati, Saubhari. So some of these people are mentioned in Bhagavatam because there is a lesson to be learned. They realized that this way of living life centered on sense enjoyment is not worth, and they ultimately took shelter of Krishna. Pururava is a love failure case, right? He failed in love. In material circles, when somebody fails in their love, they may take a bottle, right? They want to drink and they become like, there's a different type of detachment they develop. So, someone who is in mode of ignorance or tamogun, they take to this kind of intoxicants when they have this kind of experience. And someone who is in mode of passion or rajogun, they take to higher grade of enjoyment. Not higher grade, I would say more aggressive way of enjoying. Okay, I failed in seeking enjoyment with this person. Okay, let me seek enjoyment with 10 other people, 1,000 other people. They get into very, very heinous, aggressive kind of forceful enjoyment. They get into that. That is Rajoguni people. Tamoguni people, they get into intoxicants and then they ruin their life, they spoil their health, right? But Sattvaguni people, they develop detachment. Right? When Sattvaguni people have some love failures, they develop some detachment. They feel that this world is insubstantial. But those who are beyond Tamogun, Rajogun and Sattvagun, they take shelter of Krishna. Sattvaguni person will merely stop at detachment only. Okay, I tried to enjoy, I failed in that enjoyment, let me be detached. That's where Sattvaguna person stops. But someone who is beyond Sattvaguna, they take shelter of Krishna. Okay, I failed in this attempt to enjoy on a material plane, satisfy my lusty desires. Okay, now let me take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So, realizing that this material world is a place of dukkhalem ashashvatam, they ultimately take shelter of Krishna. That's what makes their stories appear in Srimad Bhagavatam. Pururava ultimately took shelter of Krishna. He did not take a bottle. Pururava took shelter of Krishna ultimately, and Yayati took shelter of Krishna, and he inspired his wife Devayani also to take shelter of Krishna, and here Saubhari Muni took shelter of Krishna, and he inspired his 50 other wives also to take shelter of Krishna. Thus all 51 of them went back to Godhead, as Prabhupada says in the next purport. That's why this story is sacred. Right? Although we have a haunting past, we can have a promising future if we take shelter of Krishna. That's the message here. Sometimes one may feel a bit uncomfortable reading Saubhari story or Pururava story. All this is there in Bhagavatam, but ultimately because they have taken shelter of Krishna, that's giving us a hope. However degraded one may be, however fallen one may be, and whatever may be the amount of sins they have committed, offenses they have committed, or whatever may be the amount of sense gratification that they had enjoyed, if they take shelter of Krishna, then all that contamination will be purified and they will go back to Godhead also. So all these stories are encouraging us to take shelter of Krishna. There is hope. Even for someone who fell down from his great stage of yogi to a sense enjoyer, even them also there is some hope. From there they can again uplift themselves, right? So this is the hope that Saubhari Muni story is giving us. This is the hope that Pururava story will give us in the later chapters. Yayati story is giving us. And also it gives us a caution note. Apart from hope, it also gives us a caution note. One is Vaishnava Aparadh thing. Second is, even if there is no background of Vaishnava Aparadh, if you are a little weak-hearted, we can give in to sense pleasures because Maya's allurements are very powerful. We can never underestimate Maya. As Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mame Vaye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantiti. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi. This Maya is filled with three modes. Gunamayi, Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunas. Very, very difficult to surpass this Maya. Only when we sincerely take shelter of Krishna, then we will be able to surpass Maya. So Krishna gave that caution note before. So don't underestimate Maya. Maya has very, very creative and innovative ways of distracting us from bhakti, and that is her service. Don't hate Maya also, right? That's her seva, to test our determination. Just like a teacher tests how much understanding that the child has, the student has, by giving a tough question paper. Similarly, Maya also presents tough tests to a sadhaka, and sadhaka has to pass. Even if somebody has absolutely no lust, like Bharat Maharaj, Maya attacked Bharat Maharaj through that compassionate quality. Bharat did not have lust, but he had compassion. So Maya thought, okay, fine, let me attack him through compassion. And that misplaced compassion just made him take 2 more lives unnecessarily, right? Even Saubhari's case also is a case of misplaced compassion only. He was compassionate on the fishes, and because of that compassion, he offended Garuda. And because of the offense to Garuda, he became lusty. And then that's all this is happening, right? So Maya can attack us not only through our weaknesses, Maya can attack us through our strengths also. Compassion is a great strength. But if that compassion is directed towards undeserving people, that strength becomes a weakness. Maya can convert that strength into weakness also. If we are not attentive in our dealings with other devotees, if we are not attentive in our sadhana, if we are not attentive in taking shelter of Krishna, right? So, lust is one of the most dangerous enemies. Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidhyena ihavairina. So this lust, which later becomes wrath or anger when it is not fulfilled, that is the greatest enemy. Mahashano mahapapma, right? It becomes the greatest enemy that degrades a soul, that causes the downfall of a yogi also. What to speak of struggling sadhakas of 2025, right? Even sages who live in secluded places, like in a holy dham like Vrindavan, also could get distracted by lust. Kashayana cha bhojanadi niyaman novavane vasato vyakhyanadathava munivrata bharat chittodbhavakshiyate kintu sphitakalinda shailatanaya tire cha vikridato govindasya padaravinda bhajanarambhasya leshadapi. One may think, kashayanacha. If I just wear kashaya vastra or a saffron cloth, my lust will go away. Not necessary, right? Vishwamitra was a yogi, not sure what color dress he was wearing, but he was doing some severe austerities. But that did not protect him. When Menaka came, he became lusty. When Rambha came, he became very angry, right? So, saffron cloth does not protect one from lust. Kashayanacha bhojanadi niyaman. Bhojanadi niyam means if I regulate my diet, will I be protected from lust? Not necessary. It can, but it need not, right? Kashayanacha bhojanadi niyaman novavane vasato. Okay. If I go and reside in a secluded forest, will that protect me from lust? Not sure. Not necessary. No va vane vasato. Here is Sobhari Muni. He is doing vanavas only. Vrindavan vas. Still, he became affected by lust. Kashayana cha bhojanadi diyaman no va vane vasato. Vyakhyanadatha munivrata bharat. Chittodbhavakshiyate. Vyakhyana means studying so many elaborate Sanskrit commentaries, doing some linguistic study of scriptures, philosophical analysis of scriptures. Will that work? Not necessary. Right? Munivrata bharat. If I just accept Maunavrata, Muni is one who observes Mauna. If I become silent, will the silence protect me from lust? Not necessary. Chittodbhavakshiyati. Mind is very restless. Mind can be affected anytime. What will protect one from lust is Govindasya padarvinda bhajanarambhasya leshadapi. Govindasya padaravinda bhajana. If you do bhajan, if you do service or worship of the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, arambhasya, even if you begin it also, leshadapi, even if you slightly worship him also, that will destroy lust. Only taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna will destroy lust. Right? Even in the beginning stages, we can experience some detachment from these lusty desires, even if our taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet is slight. What to speak of intensely taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. But austerities cannot ensure protection from lust, and different philosophical analysis or whatever, kashaya vastra or saffron cloth, all these things will not protect from lust. Only sincerely taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet will protect us from lust or anger or any other anartha. Right? So we need to take shelter of Krishna. Daivi hiyasha gunamayi mamamaya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyanti. Only when we take shelter of Krishna sincerely, that will protect us from all these allurements. And while taking shelter of Krishna, we should try to avoid offenses to Vaishnavas. These are some insights from the story of Saubhari Muni. Thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If I said anything inappropriate or that made you uncomfortable, please forgive me. I am just trying to meditate on these slokas that he has just, that are assigned to me. But I need your blessings to implement what I just said. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu.
The Kashaya verse, it just reminded of Vyadasya Acharanam Dhruvasya Chavayo verse as well, in which it says Bhakti Atusyate Kevanam Nachagunai Bhakti Priyo Madhava. Prabhu, question in relation to Vaishnava offense, Prabhu. Sometimes we tend to instruct our seniors or sometimes spiritual master also only out of pure love. Then how do we see that, Prabhu? Because maybe in my own example, when I was seeing that my Gurudev was quite unwell and he has only a few months left and he was just doing Harinam for hours and hours and hours together. One time I remember, I still contemplate about it every day, that I once told him, please, I mean, your health is not great. Please think about this. So instructed, foolish, I was foolish, I've instructed. So how do we see that, Prabhu?
You have not instructed, you requested. You are considering it as an instruction, maybe out of your humility. One Maharaj, one senior disciple of Prabhupada, he was giving class. And a disciple sends a message, Maharaj, please stop the class. And that Maharaj saw that and then kept it aside and said, now this so-and-so Prabhu is exhibiting Vatsalya Rasa towards me. Basically, that brahmachari disciple was concerned about the health of that spiritual master, and doctor told that Maharaj not to speak for a longer time. Out of sincere concern, he's saying, Maharaj, I think you have already spoken for 1 hour, 1.5 hours. You need to take rest now. You're getting exhausted. You're coughing. So please take rest. In that mood, he said, please, let's conclude now, right? It's not an instruction, it's a request. and it comes out of deep concern from the heart, right? Definitely we should not instruct a senior person, but if it comes from deep love, they will understand it. The vibes are very clear, right? So the vibrations are very clear. We cannot hide our intentions so much, right? So whether we are speaking out of love, whether our voice is little strong or very mild, or whether our body language is very appealing or not that, it may seem little aggressive or bold. Still, when the intention is pure, especially elevated devotees will understand that intentions, right? For example, Damodar Pandit, he was actually instructing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? I'll not recollect all those incidents, we don't have much time now. So Damodar Pandit, sometimes he would instruct, he would correct Mahaprabhu, you should not do like this, you should not interact with them, you should not interact too much with the boy, this and that. He says, but Mahaprabhu says, no, he's too bold, he should not instruct like that. But at the same time, that so-called instruction is coming out from the depths of his love for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Damodar Pandit, you go to Jagannath Puri and serve my mother Sachi Mata. He went and served. And he came back after some time. Then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, how is my mother? How is her devotional service going on? Damodar Pandit said, how dare you ask about the devotional service of your mother? Whatever bhakti you have is a product of her bhakti. You are inquiring about her devotional service? Then Mahaprabhu said, with this statement, Damodar Pandit has purchased me. Right? Although it seems that he boldly corrected Lord Chaitanya, but he did it out of intense affection and respect for Sachi Mata's position, right? And Mahaprabhu values Sachi Mata's position, and Mahaprabhu definitely loved what Damodar Pandit said, although ordinarily speaking we should not do like that, right? So as much as possible present that whatever concern you have to a senior devotee in the form of request, right? Loving request, and let it not sound like an instruction either in our words or body language or the tone of our expression. So, but when the intention is pure, they will understand, even if it is little here and there. But as much as well, we should try to present it in a mild way, in an acceptable way. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. Prabhu, you mentioned if we accept our offense in front of the Lord and go to the Vaishnava we have offended, then Krishna gives us his mercy so that we can come back on track. But with Sobari Muni, he didn't do any of this. So how did he realize just by doing austerity? Does that mean like austerities that can also help us?
Our previous devotional background or austere background or yogic background, whatever it is, if we had followed some dharma, bona fide dharma at some point, that will protect us at some point. We don't know the details of the story, who instructed him or who reminded him, but somehow he himself developed the distaste and he realized it. Actually speaking, realizing our mistakes is possible for anybody who has some little integrity or some common, forget integrity, common sense. Even a thief can realize that what he was doing is mistake. Even a criminal can realize that what he was doing is a mistake, if only they use some little common sense. Oftentimes, those who even realize their mistakes also reject that common sense. Keep aside that common sense, keep aside that intelligence, and then go by the dictates of their mind. Even in our sadhaka stage we can see, while performing our sadhana bhakti, we may commit some mistakes, or we may get distracted. We may speak things that we are not supposed to speak, criticizing some devotee or some commenting some devotee, or commenting on the prasad, or whatever it is. We know it, we are not supposed to do it, but somehow we kind of ignore that voice that is prompting us not to do that, and we hear that voice that prompting us, do it, right? But if you use little common sense, I should not have said like that, later we'll regret. What to speak of Sobari Muni, who did hundreds of years of tapasya like that. So, basically, if we use some little intelligence and common sense, we can definitely realize our mistakes and we can again take shelter of the Lord. Right? Yeah, of course, there is no substitute to Vaishnava's mercy. The highest realizations are attained by Vaishnava's grace. But sometimes we also realize our mistakes on our own to some degree, by our own honest introspection. One day he sat and introspected. Just like Vyasadeva, he wrote so many books. And in many of those books, he was emphasizing on 4 purusharthas, dharmartha, kama, moksha. He did not sufficiently emphasize bhakti. So one day he sat and realized, he was contemplating, what happened? What went wrong? I wrote so many books with a pure intention to help the humanity, especially in Kali Yuga. Why am I feeling so despondent? Why am I feeling dissatisfied at heart? He was thinking like that. Then he realized, maybe I have not sufficiently emphasized bhakti yoga and I overemphasized on 4 purusharthas, etc. Therefore I am despondent. Then Narada Muni came and confirmed, yes, this is the problem. And he elaborately described it. So in short, our honest introspection also helps us realize our mistakes. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mrs.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the nice class. Prabhu, I was also having a doubt on the same lines like Sevya. So here Saubhara Muni is a maybe austere person. That's why he may not have gone back and asked for a forgiveness from Garuda. Because he just... And also I heard in one of Srimad Bhagavatam classes, Prabhuji, that Kaliya asked protection from Saubhara Muni. That's how Saubhara Muni has restricted Garuda from going near Yamuna.
Oh, Kaliya asked protection.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I don't remember reading or hearing. It may be true also, but what I came to know is because Saubhari Muni cursed Garuda and therefore Garuda chose not to come there. Kaliya thought, let me go and reside there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there is an interaction between Kaliya and Saubhari Muni. I'm not aware.
No,
I'm not saying yes or no. I don't know.
Recently in the Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Okay.
Maybe I heard it wrongly. So, unintentional aparadhas, you said, may not give us lust. Maybe we are lusty by our nature. And sometimes the unfavorable situations that arise even without our interference, it can be because of either our lusty desires from the same life or unintentional aparadhas, Prabhu.
It could be both. Sometimes we may not be able to figure out what prompted me to act in this way. Sometimes we can figure out also. It could be a result of previous aparadhas. It could be a result of our own weakness of heart, because of which we give in to some temptation or some allurement. It could be anything. Huh? Swadhyaya. Lack of sadhana. Lack of sadhana also. It can be the cause. Definitely. Any other question or
Hare
comment?
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much for the beautiful class. Prabhu, that Saubhari Muni and the 50 wives, they went back home. So it's a good thing then all these 5,000 kids and then grandkids, everyone will go back because of they are pure devotees, many generations.
That's not mentioned.
Yeah, we don't know.
But it may be possible.
But according to Shastras, they will go back. He said if the family some generation up and down.
Now, again, although it's mentioned in the Shastras that when somebody becomes a devotee, several generations in that family will attain spiritual perfection, that doesn't eliminate the need to personally practice bhakti. We have an opportunity to practice bhakti when someone in our own family becomes a devotee. But that does not mean just by being the relative of some devotee or taking birth in the family of some devotee, I will automatically go back to Godhead. We may, when the devotee prays for us, when the devotee is kind to us, and the Lord especially gives a special concession, okay, because somehow directly or indirectly this person is connected to this devotee, let me just go back to Godhead, let me just give him some spiritual blessings. For example, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, 15th chapter of Madhya Leela, there was an interaction between Amogha and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya invited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for prasad, and he made an elaborate feast, and Mahaprabhu was forced to eat that, and he sat and he was about to eat, and then Amogha came and said, this much prasad, 10 people can eat, and this one sannyasi is eating so much. So he just commented. And that caused so much pain to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but Mahaprabhu did not take it seriously. And to cut the long story short, Mahaprabhu at some point in this story he said that even a dog in the home of my devotee like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is very dear to me. If later Amogha got cholera, he was on the verge of death. Then Mahaprabhu went and then purified him, transformed him, and not only cured his cholera, but also transformed his heart. So ultimately, every individual has to experience the transformation of heart. Not just, okay, I am connected to this person, okay, let me just go back to Godhead without any qualification. For example, a doctor's child can become a doctor, but he also has to study medicine. He has a better opportunity because he can learn so many things from his father, doctor. He can see how the father is treating the patients right from childhood. He knows to give injection at the age of 10 only, probably. He may have extra privilege of having a doctor in their home, but he himself has to study medicine also. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not just simply give liberation to Amogha. He transformed his heart. So then he said, a Brahmana's heart is meant for Krishna to perform his pastimes. Why did you allow envy and lust and pride to sit there? Throw them away. Then Amogha chose to throw them away. Right? By the inspiration of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, by the inspiration of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Right? So we need to personally become devotees of the Lord. Although we have some family members who are exalted devotees.
So it's depending on the individual consciousness and between Krishna and them. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Then what was the last verse that you sang? The last verse?
Kashayanna cha bhojanadaniman.
Which one? What's the verse now?
I think it's from Padyavali.
Huh?
Rupa Goswami's Padyavali.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu has reference, he can send. Okay, will we conclude or any more? We'll conclude. It's 8:55 now, 8:54. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.